I've really been wanting to make a video for a while because a lot's happened. I guess the last video I made had to do with me deciding not to go on hormone blockers because the chances of it working well are so small compared to the amount of effects and like the side effects and the expense of it, right? The expense of like my physical self, mental self, emotional, the whole thing. So yeah, since then I went on a trip for 9 days with my daughter and we did a cross-country thing, which was awesome. But like right before, I noticed that the tissue expander on the right side was getting, it looked like the skin was just drying out. It looked like the skin was overstretched, drying out, and kind of purple on the side. And it didn't, I mean, it looked bad, but it didn't really look that worrisome. I thought like, okay, well, I knew that I'd be seeing them soon enough, and so I just felt like I could wait. But it started to get a little bit worse, so I called them. I contacted Stanford and told them I'm going to be going away. Am I okay? Like, what happens? I basically went through worst case scenarios so that if I'm going to be 3,000 miles from my house with my young child, you know, like, what are my options and what could I do? So basically they put me on an antibiotic, Keflex, and a general, I guess it's kind of a general antibiotic, and I have to think what I'm doing here. I'm always multitasking. So yeah, they put me on an antibiotic and I've been taking that, and it looks like the breast is getting a little bit worse day by day. I have been on the lookout for any signs of, well, I don't know. Yeah, of infection, really. It looks like it's infected, but I feel fine. I'm really tired right now. I'm on East Coast time and slept horribly the last couple nights. But besides that, I don't have a fever. The area, it's not like the whole breast is throbbing and red and swollen and painful. I put a question out to some ladies on Facebook. I'm a part of some groups there, and I got totally afraid of having sepsis or some sort of, basically having sepsis, and I had to look up, okay, what are the signs of sepsis? And I didn't have even one sign. You know, people on there, it's kind of hard going on these groups and stuff. They can be really supportive because I think it's hard to talk to somebody who knows what you're going through unless they're going through it. You know, I wouldn't ask somebody who's not going through what I'm going through really what their opinion is or what their experiences are of something so specific. So it's like really good to have this pool of women, thousands and thousands of women, basically. But the downside of it is that they oftentimes, how it is to me is they get very overreactive, or, you know, maybe they're coming from whatever it is. I don't need to like get too deep into that, but they're like, go to the ER right now and you could have sepsis, and these things are true, right? But it put a panic in me that I haven't had. I don't even think since I got a cancer diagnosis have I felt that level of anxiety and sort of panic, really panic strickenness that entered me from hearing these women say what they did. I mean, it looked bad. I posted the picture. The picture was a weird angle, so the whole thing just looked really awful. But anyway, I was just like, okay, am I going to go to an ER in Washington, D.C. the night before I'm going back to Stanford? I mean, it just was sort of like I had to weigh. If I felt bad at all, I would have gone. But I didn't feel bad at all. So my experience with ERs here is that, you know, you go if you need to go. But, like, I could be there 6 hours or longer. I don't know what they would do for me. So I had addressed this with the plastic surgeon assistant before leaving, and she said they're going to want to take it out of you, and I just don't want to start having a constructive reconstruction surgery in a completely different state. I have no clue how that would have impacted my insurance or like, so I was like, okay, dear God, I prayed, please get me through the next 24 hours, get me home. And God got me home, and it was my first time being on a plane as well, and I had this compression sleeve on because I guess that's one of the times when a person's at risk for lymphedema, having some lymph nodes removed, and I had 4 removed, I think. It's either 4 or 6, I'm pretty sure it was 4. So I have to be careful of overdoing it in the arm where the lymph nodes were removed, or going in a plane, and I had that thing on like 4 hours, and it was the longest I had ever worn it for, so I took it off after 4 hours. So yeah, I got home and I've been taking the antibiotic, and I know that I'm scheduled to go in on Tuesday anyway, so they're going to evaluate me and see the condition of this expander and all that. So I've been looking up a lot of things. There's expander extrusion, where it pokes, where the expander pops through. There's something where the skin could have thinned. Basically, when they did the mastectomy and removed all the inner tissue, it's possible that they could have scraped it so thin. I don't know why they would have scraped it so thin on the opposite cancer side, but hey, I don't know. They like scrape it so thin that when you put the expander in, it really thinned the skin. I might just have thin skin anyway. I mean, that's funny metaphorically and physically to consider whether or not I have thin skin. And then what was the other thing? Well, then there's also just the rate of rejection that a body will, that will happen with a person when you have a foreign object in your body. So these expanders and this thing, the port, it's so hot in my brain. Like, I'm already chemo, radiation brain, and it's 90 degrees where I live, so it's really hot. I'm like completely faded. So yeah, I think I think my body is basically rejecting this whole thing, you know, and then, so the plastic surgeon said he's never seen this happen this far along, like after the expanders. The expanders have now been in for 7 months, actually. It's almost 7 months. The other thing is, skin necrosis, which just means the skin dies. So if I end up getting a flap surgery where they take the tummy tissue, or they take whatever tissue they end up taking, there's like a risk for necrosis, for the skin, the tissue to die. And so it's possible that because of a lack of blood supply, that there could be some death, like skin death, that's happened. And so basically the plastic surgeon said, I've never seen it happen 7 months later. So I don't really know what's going on. I've got antibiotic like bacitracin, gauze, and some tape on it. And I'm also wearing a support, you know, like a support bra to just hold it all in place, because it's pretty clear to me that the expander has slipped down. What it seems like is this whole, like, this dermal matrix that they use, which is supposed to hold the implant in place. It seems like it's just kind of come undone or something. And the expander has kind of like just moved down, because the top of the expander on this side and the top of the expander on this side are no longer like parallel. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, it's kind of a big deal, because I was really expecting to not be doing surgery, or the second surgery, until around October. That's just like 6 months after radiation. That's how long they wait. They want the skin to heal. There are a lot of benefits to waiting that long, and that's kind of like the standard protocol. So I was, you know, like, my life is kind of set up for that to be the time, and I've got a bunch of things I need to do in the next little while. And also, I've just been kicking so much ass on my resale online business. I have clothes and ceramic and things like that up on eBay, Mercari, Depop, Poshmark, Etsy. I've got stuff all over the place, and I'm so fired up about it and loving it so much, because it's like I've got this renewed energy. I've got so much fire to create a business for myself, and I feel like I've got finally the space and the wherewithal to do it. So like, I'm hungry and doing it, and I have to put that on hold, which I know is kind of like, it doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal, and in the scheme of things it's not that big of a deal, but it's very upsetting to the part of me that's like got a lot of momentum going right now and wants to continue on that path and make that happen. And I might just hire somebody to help me get things listed, because I have a backlog of things to get listed right now, and kind of create some of the systems for tracking it all and inventory management and all this stuff. So I'm really loving it. I can't believe I'm actually sweating right now. Wow. I'm really loving it, and it's possible it needs to get put on hold, but so I'll know more on Tuesday, like how things are going to go. There's a small chance. I mean, I would not be surprised if on Tuesday they say, you need to stay. We need to do surgery. I'm scheduled for surgery right now on July 11th, but I don't think, given the condition of this expander, my skin, I don't think they'll tell me to wait a month. I just don't. It's getting a little bit worse. It looks gross. It's bad. But again, I feel okay, so I'm hoping I don't have an infection, or I'm hoping I'm just having the skin that has thinned, and now the expander is showing through, which is not good, but it's better than some, hardcore MRSA infection. And I just lost my train of thought. So yeah, so we'll just see if they want me to stay and have surgery now. I just will have to move around a bunch of things and do my best with what it is. I have to do it. I'm happy to imagine being done with the surgery and healing now versus healing in the fall. But it's such a bummer, because last summer I was dealing with chemo, and I was on my chemo couch, and I couldn't go to the river, and I couldn't really do anything. And God, that's what's going to happen this summer again. If I have surgery anytime soon, I'm going to be not going to the river and laid up in bed for a long time, because it's pretty clear that my body can't accept an implant. And I'm actually relieved about that, because just the whole implant thing, I mean, these expanders have been really hard for me, and I know different women have had different experiences with them, but for me it's kind of been one problem after another. So I felt very wary of having implants in my body, because that's basically what expanders are. I mean, they are implants. They're just placeholders for silicone. They're made of whatever the heck they're made out of, some plasticky thing, I don't know. And then they fill it with saline, and then they put something in later. And plus they're there because when I had radiation, if you can't radiate an implant, you can't radiate a silicone implant. So women get these so that they can, the expander gets radiated, then they move the expander out, and then they put an implant in. So that's kind of why that happens. Although it is less, it is more rare for somebody who's had a double mastectomy to also get radiation. But I did get it because I had some lymph node. I had cancer in one of the lymph nodes. There's a word, I always forget the word. So they basically needed to radiate under my arm, and then they went up in this area and radiated too. So anyway, I needed to have the expanders, but I'm feeling some amount of relief over the possibility that I'll just be using my own tissue. So I have a friend who used her own tissue on one breast, and it looks amazing. I mean, it's kind of like just touching a normal breast. It's really, it's great. It's beautiful. It looks good. It feels good. And what my plastic surgeon said was that women who choose to have autologous tissue flap surgery using their own body tissue versus using an implant, their I'm forgetting the other word, their satisfaction, I guess, their satisfaction level long term is through the roof. Their satisfaction level short term is really difficult. And for other women who get implants, they're happier in the short term and more disappointed in the long term, because if I use my own tissue, except for fat grafting or any kind of revision surgery or anything I wanted, which I don't really know what that would be, I never need to have surgery again. I don't need to get mammograms again. I don't need to have surgery again. I mean, it's kind of amazing, So it's an 8-hour surgery, which is pretty insane to imagine. I mean, I read something that said even longer. If you're doing both, it could be a 20-hour surgery, which is crazy. So it's some huge amount of hours knocked out, which has its own risk. But then there's also 2 surgical sites. If they use the stomach tissue, or they could use thigh, they could use butt. and they can use lat, but I'm pretty sure I don't want them to do lat. I'm not pretty sure. I don't want them to do my latissimus because it, from what I can tell, it really impacts a person's ability to be like physical going forward. I want to be able to work out and like lift weights and be active again. So I don't want that. I'd rather them, yeah. So we're going to talk about it, like how much. I'm probably like 7 pounds heavier than normal or something like that, at least 5. You know, it's not like a lot. It's not some some major deal, but it's enough. Hopefully they could like pull some of this that I got going on in my thighs and butt and stomach. But I'll find out when I go down there on Tuesday. But anyway, I feel a relief about that. It's going to be really hard for sure a month and maybe up to 2 months. Like I can't drive for 4 weeks. Is it 4 or 3? I can't remember, but I'll be back on my bed at the mercy of my amazing partner and whoever else is willing to lend me a hand during that time. So yeah, anyway, it's big stuff, and I'm gonna know a lot more on Tuesday, which I'm feeling good about. Yeah, I really just wanted to share all that. I feel like so much has happened, and I've actually been making videos lately and not posting them. Is that weird or what? I mean, part of this process for me is sort of, it really is like a vlog, you know. It's like a, what does that stand for? A video, like a blog. Yeah, a video blog. But it's like, part of it is my own journaling process, like speaking this stuff, getting it out there. It just kind of helps clear me internally. It's sort of just like an audio journal for me. And then the other reason I do it is to hopefully help one person, you know, like share my experience, because I've been helped by people a lot along the way, through others sharing their information and experience. You know, they're both important. So yeah, so that's why I do them. And so sometimes I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna talk so that I can get it out, and then I don't necessarily upload it for different reasons. So I'm glad that I could share all this. It's long. I try to make these things short. It's just never happening. I just talk too much. But anyway, yeah, thanks. Any comments or thoughts or questions or ideas or anything? I know I have a few friends on here who keep in touch, and I really appreciate that. So don't be a stranger. Comment if you have something you're thinking or something, because it actually feels really good when people interact with me. It feels really odd when I know some people just watch and they don't comment. I don't know why, but I'm just kind of like, I feel like I'm vulnerably sharing myself, and then, you know, there's like, who's on the other side? I don't really know. It's not a big deal, but if you did share, if you would say like, hey, thanks, or hi, thinking about you, or hey, I watched this, it would mean a lot to me. So just know that, and it's not a requirement. All right, thanks. Take care.